Hey there, everyone. I'm Tina from Living Delicious Nutrish. Welcome back to my kitchen. I'm doing my series of Greek Mezethes, or small shareable plates, with you. And the second recipe in this series is called Taramosalata. I know it's one of those things that's really difficult to pronounce, but you're gonna love eating it. So don't worry about how to pronounce it. Anytime a Greek recipe ends in the word salata, it's salad, or typically refers to some kind of a dip or spread. And that's exactly what this is. But the unique ingredient is this, which is tarama. Sorry, it's backwards, but it's spelled T-A-R-A-M-A, and it's a cured fish roe dip. It's cured in only salt for about a year. And the thing I love about this ingredient is it develops a very mild flavor, but you still get that nice brininess from the sea. And it's packed with nutrients. It's full of omega-3s, just really good for you. And when we put the rest of this together, you'll see how creamy and delicious it is. And it's a perfect thing for a grazing board. So let me get started. I did paleotize this recipe because typically this recipe is thickened with what would be dried out and then re-moistened with water bread. And I don't like to use the bread because of the gluten. I also think it kind of gives it a gummy consistency, so I think you're gonna like this a little better. I've gone through so many different variations of this recipe, from old Greek cookbooks, from the way my mom used to make it. And I find that there are a lot of things that I can just make some simple swaps with, and it comes out just as good. I promise you won't know the difference if you already know what this is. So the first thing I'm gonna do is start with my food processor. And I've already pre-cooked some white sweet potatoes. Now, you know this ingredient because you've seen me use these before. It looks pretty much like any other sweet potato, but the flesh inside is white. And the reason I like to use this is it's nightshade free. So if you have sensitivity to nightshades like eggplant or potatoes, regular white potatoes are considered nightshades, and some peppers, things like that, then this is a great ingredient because you don't need to worry about that being an issue. So I've already par-cooked. They're pretty soft, some diced sweet potatoes, but the first thing I'm gonna do is add about a half a cup of white diced onion. Don't worry about dicing it up too perfectly because we're gonna let the food processor do the work this time. I'm just gonna mince this up. I don't want any chunks. I want it to be almost liquid. I'm just gonna let that go a little bit. And remember, when you're scraping down the sides of your food processor, to use something that's hard or something that won't get stuck in the blade. I'm using my silicone spatula, which still might get a little stuck, but it's not as much as those rubber spatulas. And this is almost there. It kind of looks like snow. I want it to be just a little more minced than this. On with the lid. Has a tendency to crawl up on the sides, so I like to push it back down into the bowl a bit. And that looks pretty good. I'll show you how that looks. You don't want to bite into a chunk of onion, but you want that onion flavor. So you can see there how that is so nice and finely minced now. And it's just a lot easier to do in the food processor because we can just put everything in at once. I'm gonna go ahead and add those potatoes. As I said, I've already got them cooked and I drained them. They're still warm. And this is definitely best served chilled. So once you get all the ingredients together, make sure you have enough time to put it in the fridge for an hour or two to get it nice and chilled. We're just gonna pulse these again to get it nice and smooth and incorporate it in with those onions. Great. Another thing I like to use as a thickening agent, but you don't necessarily have to put it if you have a nut allergy, is about a half a cup of almond flour. This is a fine grind almond flour. Just going to sprinkle that around and each time I add an ingredient, I like to scrape it down again. And I like to make sure that everything's getting mixed in nice and evenly. And you see this comes together so easily. It's starting to look a little bit like a dough with the potato and the almond flour, but we're gonna smooth it out with some really good extra virgin olive oil. And that really does make a difference in the finished flavor of this dish, so make sure you choose a really good quality olive oil. Last but not least, 1/4 cup of the fish roe of the tarama. I already have it measured out, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add that in. And this recipe will be on the website. So feel free to go to livingdeliciousnutrish.com and check it out. One more quick whir. I'm gonna make sure that pink gets nice and blended in. And work it around a few times. And you can see it's getting nice and thick like a paste. And then we're gonna add the olive oil and finish it with some lemon and salt and pepper. So one more quick around. Get that all mixed in, and now I'm just going to turn on the machine and add the olive oil while it's running. I want to talk to you a little bit about this olive oil mythology. This is from Crete. I buy it at an importing store. I believe you can also find it online. It is the best quality olive oil I've ever used, and it's extra virgin. It's grown there on the island. The island is covered with olive groves. It's so fantastic. And the color of it is just this gorgeous gold green. So really look and seek out a nice olive oil when you're making dishes that the flavor is gonna be really pronounced. So now I'm just gonna turn the machine on, leave it running, and start to add the olive oil. Works out to be about 1/2 cup, but I like to just kind of let it go until it gets to the consistency I want. Some people like it a little thicker so you can spread it. Some people like it thinner. Pretty good. I'll show you one thing real quick. When you see it kind of going around in one big ball sort of thing, you know it's already a little too thick. You want to scrape it down and get it to a consistency where it looks nice and smooth and even as the machine is on. This is still a little thick, so we're going to go with a little extra, and you can add some water too. More oil. This is looking really good. I'm going to go ahead and cut this lemon. Let's give that a quick taste. You can see it's nice and thick. We could go a little creamier if you prefer, or just leave it like this. You get that nice onion flavor, and then that nice brininess. It's like salad from the sea. I always like to roll my lemon or limes, any of my citrus that I'm going to juice, because it helps break down all of that tissue inside and release the juice. Just makes life a lot easier. I'm just going to cut this in half and use my lemon juicer. I'm going to start with 1/2 lemon and turn it back on and give it a taste. I think I will add a little bit of water. And again, this is one of those things that you just sort of get a feel for after you make it once or twice. Okay, let's see how that is, and then maybe we can add some salt and pepper if we're close. The texture's great. That lemon adds just the right amount of acidity. Tiny bit of black pepper and some fresh Himalayan pink sea salt or Maldon salt. Always use a really good quality salt so it's nice and clean and you don't get any of those metallic flavors in your dish. And that's it. It's done. So easy. You have people coming over, you can throw one of these together in no time, get it in the fridge. And I want to show you this grazing board I've put together. A nice healthy assortment of some fun things. I've got lots of different olives. These are from Mykonos. They have red pepper and herbs and lemon. These are Kalamata olives. I've got some nice grain-free crackers. I love this Simple Mills brand because they're totally grain-free and they're made from almond flour. And for me, it's the perfect replacement for a cracker with gluten. And I've got some radish slices and some cucumbers for dipping. We love apples, so I added some apples for a nice sweet bite and some pistachios to have some nuts. And you can drizzle the apple slices with some honey if you like. And here's the tarama. And it's spreadable, so we can just put some of that on a cracker or on one of those veggie slices. And I have the dolmades from last week too. If you remember last week, I made the meat and cassava orzo stuffed dolmades that I baked, and I just went ahead and made an extra big batch and threw some in the freezer, so I can always have them on hand if I'm having people over. Last but not least, if you're gonna do it Greek, you need some ouzo. Ouzo reminds me of sitting on the balcony at my hotel in Santorini when they would come in the afternoon with a nice grazing board of all sorts of different shareable Mezethes and a little ouzo and that wonderful ocean breeze. And we would snack and sip. And when I do this at home, it kind of takes me back there. I hope you try this recipe. It's full of nutrients, packed with protein, lots of healthy fats. It makes you feel okay when you have a sip of ouzo with it. I hope that you go on my website and check out my other recipes. A couple new things that are happening. I am co-hosting at the Edible Education Experience here in Orlando in College Park, the Culinary Curiosities program on August 26th. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. and I'll be talking about how to add some Whole30 principles to the way you eat. So I hope you can join me there if you're local. And I am coaching a Whole30 for September, so I'll have details on the website soon about that as well. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Let me know if you try it. Be sure to tag me if you follow me here on Instagram, and I'll see you next week with the next Mezethes recipe. Cheers, yassas.